The celestial Accord Hall floated in the darkness of space like a massive jewel. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered for the annual summit. The hall was enormous with seats arranged in circular rings. The oldest and most powerful species sat in the center rings. The newer, less important species sat in the outer rings far from the main stage. Captain Day-1 stood near the entrance with the other human delegates. He wore his ceremonial combat armor. Polished and clean, the armor was sleek and gray with blue lines that glowed softly. It covered him from head to toe, making him look larger and more imposing. Around him, aliens of every shape and size moved through the hall in their own ceremonial dress. Ambassador Hana walked beside him. She was older, with gray in her hair and wisdom in her eyes. She wore simple formal robes, trying to appear peaceful and diplomatic. "Remember," she said quietly, "to Day-1, we are still new here. Many of these species have been traveling the stars for thousands of years, some for millions. We must be patient." Day-1 nodded. He understood. Humans had only discovered faster than light travel 50 years ago. To these ancient races, humanity was like a child stumbling into a room full of adults. The other species made that clear in how they looked at the human delegation. Some stared with curiosity, like scientists examining a new specimen. Others looked with barely hidden contempt. The opening ceremony began. A massive insectoid creature, with 6 arms and gleaming black eyes, stood at the center podium. This was High Magistrate Velroth, leader of the Vel species. His voice echoed through the hall, translated instantly into thousands of languages by the station systems. "Welcome, members of the Intergalactic Council," Velro said. "Another year of peace and cooperation brings us together. Let us celebrate our unity and discuss the challenges we face as a galactic community." After the formal speeches, the delegates moved to a large reception hall. This was where the real business happened. Species mingled, made deals, formed alliances. The human delegates stayed mostly together, knowing they were outsiders. That was when she approached. Lady Ju was beautiful by any standard. She belonged to the Terra species, an Avan race with feathers that shimmered in colors humans had no names for. She moved with grace, her long neck held high with pride. Behind her, several other Terra nobles followed, their eyes bright with amusement. She stopped directly in front of Day-1. Her eyes scanned his armor from top to bottom. Then she laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Tell me, human," she said loudly, making sure others nearby could hear, "why do you hide behind such crude metal? Are your bodies so weak that you must wrap yourselves in machines?" Several nearby delegates turned to watch. Some of the insectoid clicked their mandibles in what might have been laughter. A group of crystalline beings chimed in a musical sound that conveyed mockery. Day-1 said nothing. His face was hidden behind his helmet, but inside, his jaw tightened. Ambassador Hana stepped forward, her diplomatic smile firmly in place. "Lady Ju, our armor is ceremonial. It represents our military traditions and military traditions." Ju interrupted, her feathers ruffled with disdain. "How primitive. We Treks abandoned such barbarism millennia ago. We enhanced our bodies with biotechnology, becoming stronger than nature made us. We do not hide, we improve." She gestured at her own form, where subtle mechanical and biological enhancements gleamed beneath her Feathers, more species gathered now, drawn by the confrontation. A delegation of blue-skinned aquatic beings floated in their environmental suits, watching with large eyes. A group of energy beings flickered with interest. The elder races, Jiu, continued, addressing the growing crowd. We evolved beyond the need for such things. We made ourselves better, but humans, they discovered space travel and immediately wrapped themselves in metal, like insects in cocoons. How can you ever grow if you hide what you truly are? The crowd murmured, some in agreement, some simply entertained by the spectacle. To them this was just another moment of hazing the newest members of the galactic community. Ambassador Hana's smile never wavered, but Daewon could see the tension in her shoulders. She was preparing a diplomatic response that would save face while avoiding conflict, but Daewon raised his hand. The gesture was small, but Hana saw it and stopped speaking. The crowd noticed too. Everyone waited to see how the human would respond to the insult. Daewon stepped forward. Even in his armor, he was shorter than Jiwoo. She looked down at him with that same mocking smile. When he spoke, his voice was calm and quiet, amplified by his armor speakers, just enough for everyone nearby to hear. You question what lies beneath our armor, he said. You call us primitive for wearing it. You wonder if we hide weakness inside these shells. Ju and LT Unk and GT's smile widened. Yes, exactly. Show us what you truly are, human. Are you afraid? Daewon stood very still for a moment, then he said something that made the entire conversation stop. Very well, I will show you. Reception hall fell silent after Daewon spoke those words. Delegates who had been talking in small groups turned their attention to the confrontation. Even those who had been conducting business in distant corners of the hall stopped to watch. Lady Jiwoo tilted her head, her feathers catching the light. She clearly had not expected the human to accept her challenge. For a moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. But then her pride took over and she smiled again. You will show us, she asked. Here now, if the council permits it. Daewon said. He turned toward where High Magistrate Roth stood with several other senior members. I request permission to demonstrate the truth about humanity, to show these assembled delegates what we really are beneath our armor. Vel rose. 6 arms moved in a gesture that the translation systems interpreted as curiosity. His black compound eyes reflected the lights of the hall. This is most unusual, the magistrate said. His voice carried authority, but also interest. The reception is meant for diplomatic conversation, not demonstrations. Yet a demonstration would answer questions, said another council member, a floating mass of tentacles encased in a pressure suit. The humans are new. Many species have wondered about them. Perhaps it is time for clarity. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. The truth was simple. They were all curious. The humans had kept mostly to themselves since joining the galactic community. They shared technology, engaged in trade, and attended councils, but they revealed little about their true nature. Ambassador Hana moved closer to Daewon. She spoke in Korean quietly so only he could hear. Are you certain about this? We came here to build bridges, not to make spectacles. They already see us as a spectacle. Daewon replied in the same language. The mockery will not stop until they understand. Let me show them. Ambassador, trust me. Hana studied his face through his helmet. transparent visor she had worked with. Day one for 3 years, he was not reckless. He did not act from pride or anger. If he wanted to do this, he had a reason. She nodded once, then stepped back. High Magistrate Vilroth conferred briefly with the other senior council members, then he spoke. Very well. We grant permission for this demonstration. There is an arena space in the center of the hall used for ceremonial performances. You may use it. The crowd moved. Delegates walked toward the center of the hall where a large open space existed. The floor there was marked with circles and lines designed for various ceremonial purposes. Lighting arrays descended from the ceiling, illuminating the space. Day one walked to the center of the arena. His armored boots made solid sounds against the floor. Around him, hundreds of aliens arranged themselves in a massive circle watching. Some stood, others floated. Some had tentacles, others had claws, and some were beings of pure energy contained in specialized fields. Lady Jai Wu stood at the front of the crowd, her arms crossed. Her fellow tracks nobles flanked her, their expressions confident. They expected to see something weak, something that would confirm their beliefs about this primitive species. Ambassador Hana stood with the other human delegates. There were only 50 humans at the summit, and now all of them watched Day one. Some looked worried, others looked curious, but they all trusted him. Before I begin, Day one said, his voice amplified so everyone could hear, I want to be clear about something. Humans wear armor by choice, not from weakness, not from fear. We wear it because we understand what we are, and we have learned to be careful. Jai Wu laughed. Day one ignored her. He reached up and touched the release mechanism on his right gauntlet. There was a soft hiss as pressure seals disengaged. He pulled the gauntlet off slowly and set it on the ground beside him. His hand was revealed, brown skin, 5 fingers. Human hand, nothing special to look at. Then he removed the left gauntlet. Then the arm plates, piece by piece. He began disassembling his armor. Each piece was placed carefully on the ground. The chest plate came off, revealing the armor's underlayer. The leg guards were removed, the shoulder pieces, the back plate. The crowd watched in silence now. Even Ju had stopped smiling. There was something about the way Day one moved that made them pay attention. He was methodical, calm. Each movement was precise, like a ritual. Finally, only his helmet remained. Day one reached up and released the seal. The helmet came off with a soft hiss. He set it down with the other pieces. He stood in the center of the arena wearing only a black compression suit that showed his actual body shape. No mechanical enhancement, no biological augmentation, just human. And for the first time, the assembled species of the galaxy truly saw him. The silence deepened. It was not the silence of boredom or disinterest. It was the silence of realization, the silence of creatures who suddenly understood they had made a terrible mistake in judgment. Day one stood at his full height. He was not tall by galactic standards, only about 180 cm. His body was compact, but dense. Muscles moved under his skin with a predator's grace. Scars marked his arms and visible neck, old wounds from training and combat, but it was his eyes that made them understand. Dark eyes that had seen death and survived, eyes that tracked movement with unconscious precision, the eyes of something that had evolved to hunt. Silence in the hall was complete. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy stared at the human standing in the center of the arena. Without his armor, Day One looked smaller, but something about him made the observers uneasy in ways they could not immediately name. Lady Jai Wu stared at him. Her mocking smile had vanished. Her feathers lay flat against her body, sign of confusion among her species. She had expected to see something weak, something that would prove humans needed their armor to survive. Instead, she saw something that made her ancient instincts whisper warnings. A human woman stepped forward from the crowd of delegates. She was young with short, black hair and glasses that displayed data across her vision. Her name was Minso, and she was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life forms. High Magistrate Mio said, bowing respectfully to Velroth. May I speak? I believe I can help everyone understand what they are seeing. Roth gestured with two of his 6 arms. Mio walked to the edge of the arena, close enough to be heard clearly, but not entering the demonstration space. She looked at Day One, then at the assembled crowd. Many of you are confused, she began. You expected to see weakness. You expected to understand why humans wear armor, but now you see Captain Doohan without his armor, and you feel something different. You feel uncertain. Some of you feel afraid, though you do not know why. A murmur went through the crowd. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably, others leaned forward with intense interest. Let me explain what you are looking at, Minso continued. Captain Day One is what we call a baseline human. He has no genetic modifications, no biological enhancements, no mechanical augmentations. What you see is what evolution created on our home world, Earth. And what is special about that? Asked one of the crystalline beings, its voice chiming like wind through glass. He appears weak, small, fragile. That is because you are judging by the wrong standards, Mo said. She pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device. Data and images appeared in the air for everyone to see. Let me tell you about Earth. Our planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. DY. The murmur grew louder. Class 12 was a high rating. Most species in the Council had evolved on Class 3 to Class 6 worlds, comfortable places with stable climates and moderate dangers. Earth has extreme temperature variations, Mo explained as images of Earth appeared in the hologram. Frozen tundras, burning deserts, dense jungles, and violent oceans. Our weather systems are violent and unpredictable. Our planet has more predator species per square kilometer than almost any other known world. Life on Earth is not easy. It is a constant battle for survival. She changed the image. Now it showed ancient humans running across a plain, chasing an animal much larger than themselves. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Mio said. Do you understand what that means? It means our ancestors would choose prey and chase it, not for minutes, not for hours, for days if necessary. We would follow our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, then we would kill it and eat it. The hall was silent. Again, many species began accessing their own data systems, checking Earth's classification, verifying Minso and LT Unk and GT claims. Our bodies are designed for endurance, she continued. Our legs are built to carry us vast distances without stopping. Our cooling system, our ability to sweat, allows us to regulate temperature better than almost any other species. Our lungs and hearts can maintain activity for hours or even days. We heal quickly. Our bones are dense and strong. Our pain tolerance is extremely high. She pulled up comparison data charts showing human endurance compared to other galactic species. The numbers were shocking. Humans could run longer, carry more weight, survive harsher conditions, and recover faster than most of the species in the hall. But that's impossible, Lady Jiu said, her voice uncertain. For the first time, if humans are so capable, why do you need armor at all? Day One spoke, then his voice was calm and clear. Because we learned something important in our history. Just because we can endure pain and injury does not mean we should. Just because we can survive extreme conditions does not mean we should not protect ourselves. Armor is not a crutch, it is a tool. It makes us stronger than we already are. Mio nodded. Captain Day One is what we call combat rated. He has trained since childhood in various forms of combat and survival. His body has been conditioned through years of intense physical training. But even an average human, someone who has never trained for combat, would exceed most galactic species in endurance and resilience. She looked around the hall at the assembled delegates. You mocked his armor. You thought he wore it because he was weak. But the truth is the opposite. We wear armor because we are strong enough to carry it, because we can fight effectively with or without it, because we choose to protect what we value, even though our bodies could survive much more damage than most of yours. High Magistrate Roth leaned forward. This is why human security personnel are so effective. This is why your soldiers have such high ratings in combat simulations. Yes, Mio said, we did not share this information openly before because we wanted to be accepted as diplomats and traders. We wanted to build relationships based on our minds and our culture, not on our physical capabilities. We wanted to be seen as people, not as weapons. The hall erupted in conversation. Delegates talked rapidly with each other. Data was accessed, information was verified. Everything they thought they knew about humans was changing in real time. Day One stood quietly in the center of the arena, waiting. High Magistrate raised 2 of his 6 arms, calling for silence. The crowd settled, but the energy in the hall had changed completely. Where there had been mockery and condescension, now there was intense interest and growing concern. These claims are extraordinary, Velro said. His translator carried his words to everyone present. We have reviewed Earth's classification in our databases. It is indeed listed as Class 12. However, data can be misleading. Claims can be exaggerated. He turned his compound eyes toward Day One. Captain, would you be willing to undergo standard evaluation tests, the same tests we use for security personnel and military candidates across all our species? Duan nodded once. I would welcome that. High Magistrate, excellent. Velro gestured, and several floating devices descended from the ceiling. They were monitoring systems, medical scanners, and testing equipment. We will conduct fair evaluations. Standard protocols. No special considerations. The arena floor reconfigured itself. Sections raised and lowered, creating different zones for different tests. Running track appeared around the outer edge. Wait stations materialized on one side. Environmental chambers formed on another. Ambassador Hana looked Worried, but she did not interfere. She trusted Day One, and she understood that this moment could change everything for humanity's standing in the galactic community. The first test began. It was a simple endurance run. The track was 2 km long. The standard requirement for most security positions was to complete 10 laps at a steady pace. Most species could manage between 3 and 7 laps before needing rest. Day One began running. His pace was steady and controlled. His breathing was rhythmic. Heart rate, oxygen consumption, muscle efficiency, body temperature. He completed 10 laps without slowing. Crowd murmured, but he did not stop. He continued 20 laps, 30, 40. His vital signs remained stable. His body temperature rose slightly, but then stabilized as his cooling system, his sweat regulated it efficiently. After 60 laps, an hour of continuous running, High Magistrate Velro called for him to stop. "This is sufficient," the magistrate said. There was a new tone in his voice. Respect. Day One stopped running. His breathing was elevated but controlled. Within 5 minutes, his heart rate returned to normal levels. The medical scanners showed his recovery speed, and more murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lady Jai Wu stared at the displayed data. Her species, the Terra, could fly using their enhanced wings, but they could not run like that, not even close. The second test involved carrying weight. Standard military pack was provided, weighing approximately 40 kg. The test required carrying it across the arena 10 times, a total distance of about 500 m. Day One picked up the pack easily, but then he looked at the test administrator, a small robotic unit. "May I request a heavier weight?" The administrator's optical sensors focused on him. "The test parameters are standardized. I understand, but this weight is too light to properly demonstrate human capability. May I use twice this amount?" The crowd went silent. Twice the standard weight meant 80 kg, nearly as much as Day One's own body weight. Velro consulted with other council members. Then he spoke. "Request granted. This will be noted as exceeding standard parameters." They brought out heavier weights. Day One loaded them into the pack, then lifted it onto his shoulders. 80 kg. He began walking across the arena. His steps were steady. He showed no signs of strain. He completed the required 10 trips, then continued for 5 more before they stopped him. The third test focused on environmental adaptation. Subjects entered a chamber where temperature and atmospheric conditions could be adjusted. Most species had very narrow tolerance ranges, a few degrees too hot or too cold, and they became impaired. Day One entered the chamber. The temperature started at a comfortable baseline, then began dropping 10 degrees, 20, 30 degrees below baseline. The monitors showed his body temperature remaining stable. His metabolism increased slightly to generate more heat, but he showed no signs of distress. Then they reversed it. The temperature climbed 10 degrees above baseline, 20, 30, 40. Day One's cooling system activated. Sweat appeared on his skin, but he remained functional, alert, capable. "Stop," commanded one of the council medical officers, a being made of crystalline structures. "This is beyond safe limits for most species. His tolerance range is remarkable." Smatter. Honor a lead. The fourth test measured reaction time in combat. Capability. A series of targets appeared around the arena, both physical and holographic. The test measured how quickly a subject could identify and respond to threats. Daewon's performance was exceptional. His eyes tracked targets with predator precision. His hands moved with speed and accuracy. But what impressed the observers most was not just his speed but his efficiency. There was no wasted movement. Every action had purpose. Mino, the xenobiologist, provided commentary. Throughout the tests, what you are seeing is millions of years of evolution. Focused on survival, human eyes are positioned forward, giving us excellent depth perception for tracking prey. Our hands have fine motor control for tool use and weapon handling. Our brains are wired for pattern recognition and threat assessment. We are at our core designed to be highly effective hunters. She pulled up more data, but we are also social creatures. We evolved to work in groups to communicate complex ideas, to plan and strategize. This combination of individual capability and group coordination makes humans formidable in ways that go beyond simple physical strength. After 2 hours of continuous testing, High Magistrate Velroth called for the demonstrations to end. Daewon stood in the center of the arena, slightly tired but still fully capable. Around him, the gathered delegates processed what they had witnessed. The data did not lie. The tests were standardized, used across the galaxy for centuries, and this baseline human, without any enhancements or modifications, had exceeded the standards in every category, not by small margins, by enormous ones. Lady Ju and LT Unk and GT's hands trembled slightly. She looked at the other humans in the delegation with new eyes. 50 humans. 50 of these endurance predators from a death world. How many more were there on Earth? Millions. Billions. The silence returned to the hall, but it was different now. It was the silence of understanding. The silence of species, realizing they had badly underestimated the newcomers. The testing ended, but the gathering did not disperse. Instead, more delegates arrived. Word had spread throughout the station about what was happening in the Celestial Accord Hall. Species who had not attended the reception now crowded into the viewing areas. The demonstration had become the most important event of the entire summit. High Magistrate Roth stood at the central podium. His 6 arms gestured for attention, and the crowd quieted. What we have witnessed today is unprecedented, he said. The council requests a full briefing on human evolution and capabilities. This information is vital for understanding humanity's role in our galactic community. Ambassador Hana stepped forward. She had prepared for many possible scenarios at this summit, but this was not one of them. Still, she was a professional. She adapted quickly. Beside her, Mino prepared her data displays. Daewon stood as well, still in his compression suit, a living example of everything they were about to explain. The lights in the hall dimmed slightly. Holographic displays appeared above the arena, visible from every angle. An image of Earth rotated slowly, beautiful and blue and terrifying. Earth, Ambassador Hana began, is our home. It is a world of extremes. Our species, humanity, evolved over millions of years in an environment that constantly tried to kill us. The image changed, showing various Earth environments, frozen ice sheets where temperatures dropped far below zero, deserts where heat could kill in hours, jungles so dense with life that every plant and animal competed violently for survival. Oceans with storms that could destroy anything in their path, most species in this council evolved on garden worlds. Hana continued, stable climates, predictable seasons, moderate dangers. Your ancestors grew and thrived in relative safety. Our ancestors did not have that luxury. When again, Worley textunded. Menno took over her scientists. Perspective adding detail, Earth has experienced 5 major extinction events so catastrophic that they killed most life on the planet, ice ages that froze continents, volcanic eruptions that darkened the sky for years, asteroid impacts that changed the climate overnight. Through all of this, our ancestors survived. The displays showed evolutionary history, early primates in trees, then humans on the ground walking upright, using tools, hunting in groups, building fires, creating weapons. We evolved as persistent hunters, Minso explained. Again, but this time with more detail. Other predators on Earth were faster than us, stronger than us. They had claws and fangs. We had nothing but our minds and our endurance. So we developed a strategy. We would injure prey with thrown weapons, then follow them for hours, for days. We would track them across vast distances, never letting them rest, never letting them recover. Eventually they would collapse from exhaustion, then we would kill them. She showed footage from Earth, ancient humans chasing prey across hot plains under a burning sun. The prey was faster in short bursts, but the humans never stopped. They just kept coming, tireless and patient. This strategy required specific evolutionary adaptations. Minso continued. We developed the most efficient cooling system known in nature. We sweat. This allows us to regulate our body temperature during extended activity. Most Earth predators cannot do this. They overheat quickly. We do not. The display showed comparative data, human endurance versus other Earth predators. The difference was stark. Humans could maintain activity 10 times longer than most other predators. We also developed exceptional mental capabilities. Ambassador Hana added, tracking prey requires memory, pattern recognition, and planning. We needed to communicate complex information to our hunting groups. This drove the development of our advanced brains and our complex languages. The presentation continued. More data, more context, more revelations. The assembled delegates learned about human bone density, significantly higher than most space-faring species, about human healing factors, wounds that would permanently disable most species could heal within weeks for humans, about human pain tolerance, the ability to function through injuries that would incapacitate others. But here is what you must understand, Hana said, her voice growing serious. These capabilities are not just historical, they are present in every human alive today, every human you see. Whether they are soldiers like Captain Day One or civilians like our scientists and traders, they all carry this evolutionary inheritance. A council member from the aquatic species raised a tentacle. Why did you hide this information? Why present yourselves as peaceful traders when you are clearly evolved as warriors? Hana smiled sadly. Because we wanted to be accepted. When we first discovered faster than light travel and encountered other species, we were excited. We wanted friends, allies, partners in exploring the universe. We were afraid that if you knew what we were, you would fear us instead of welcoming us. You were right to fear. That, said a delegate from a species resembling large insects. We would have feared you, we would have questioned your admission to the council. Exactly, Hana said. So we emphasized our technology, our culture, our diplomacy. We downplayed our physical nature. We wore armor and environmental suit so you would not see our true forms. We let you think we were like you, just another species who evolved intelligence and reached for the stars. Velro spoke, his voice thoughtful. But today that deception ends. It was not meant as deception, Hana corrected gently. It was simply choosing which truths to emphasize. We are everything we claim to be. We are curious explorers. We are skilled negotiators. We value peace and cooperation. But yes, we are also survivors from a death world. We are predators who evolved to never give up, never stop, never quit. The hall was quiet as everyone processed this information. They looked at the 50 human delegates with completely different understanding. Now, these were not weak newcomers who needed protection and guidance. These were apex predators from one of the most dangerous worlds in known space, choosing to be peaceful. Lady Jiwoo stood slowly. Her feathers were pressed flat against her body, a sign of shame in her culture. You said Captain Day 1 is combat rated. What percentage of humans are trained to this level? Ambassador Hana exchanged a glance with Day 1, then answered honestly, about 20% of our population receives military or intensive physical training, but understand, an untrained human civilian still exceeds most galactic species in endurance and resilience. The training just makes us more efficient at applying our natural capabilities. The implications settled over the crowd like a heavy weight. 20% of billions meant hundreds of millions of trained human warriors, and even the untrained ones were formidable by galactic standards. The galaxy had just realized it had welcomed something truly dangerous into its midst. The summit continued for the rest of the day, but everything had changed. Delegates who had barely acknowledged the human presence now sought conversations with Ambassador Hana and her team. Species that had looked down on humanity now asked careful, respectful questions. The humans remained professional and courteous, but they could feel the shift in how others perceived them. As evening approached by the station's artificial cycle, a message arrived at the human delegation's quarters. Lady Jiwoo requested a private audience with Captain Day. She asked that Ambassador Hana be present as well. Day 1 had returned to his armor after the demonstration. He stood in the diplomatic chamber wearing his full gear once more, but now everyone who saw him understood what it represented. Ambassador Hana stood beside him, her expression neutral but curious. The door opened. Lady Jiwoo entered alone, without her usual entourage of track nobles. She moved slowly, her feathers subdued in color. In her culture, this was a sign of humility and regret. She stopped a respectful distance from the two humans and bowed deeply. Captain Day 1, she said quietly. Ambassador Hana, thank you for agreeing to see me. Of course, Hana replied. Please sit. They arranged themselves around a low table designed to accommodate various body types. Jiu folded her legs gracefully. The human sat across from her. For a long moment Jiu said nothing. she seemed to struggle with her words. Finally she spoke. I came to offer an apology. Formal, complete apology for my behavior. And my words, Day One remained silent. Waiting, I mocked you, Jew continued. I called you primitive. I suggested your armor meant you were weak and hiding. I did this publicly, in front of hundreds of delegates, intentionally trying to humiliate you. And your species, her feathers trembled. Slightly, I was wrong, completely wrong. And I am deeply ashamed. We accept your apology, Ambassador Hana said calmly. However, I think it would help everyone if we understood why. Why did you choose to mock us? What did you hope to accomplish? Jaiwu looked down at her hands. They were delicate with biomechanical enhancements visible beneath the skin. My people, the tracks, evolved on a world we call Athon Prime. It is beautiful beyond description. Gentle gravity, mild climate, abundant food, safe. She looked up, meeting their eyes. Perhaps too safe. We evolved intelligence and culture, but our bodies remained fragile. When we discovered space flight and met other species, we realized how weak we were compared to so many others. It terrified us, so you enhanced yourselves. Day One said. It was not a question. Yes, we developed biotechnology and mechanical augmentation. We made ourselves stronger, faster, more durable. We took pride in this. We told ourselves we had improved on nature, that we had transcended our evolutionary limitations. She gestured at her own enhanced form. We made modification a central part of our culture. Those who enhance the most gain the highest status, and then humans arrived, Hana said, understanding dawning. Yes, you wore armor and we assumed you were like us, weak creatures who needed technology to survive. It made us feel superior. Jew and LT Unk and GT's voice grew bitter when I saw Captain Day One in his armor today. I saw an opportunity to feel better about my own species, to mock someone else the way we secretly fear others mock us. Duan leaned forward slightly. But we are not weak. We never were. No, Jiu whispered. You are naturally what we tried desperately to become through technology. You evolved under harsh conditions that made you strong. You endure. You survive. You do not need enhancement because nature already perfected you for survival. She looked directly at Day One. When you removed your armor, I finally saw the truth. The armor is not a crutch, it is a choice. You wear it not because you need it, but because you value your life enough to protect it. You have the wisdom to use tools even though your body could survive without them. That is correct. Day One said. His voice was not unkind. My people learned long ago that just because we can endure pain and injury does not mean we should. We can survive harsh conditions, but we do not seek them out unnecessarily. We use technology to make our lives better and safer, not because we are weak, but because we are smart. Jiu nodded slowly. I wish my people had that wisdom. Instead, we enhance our bodies to dangerous levels, always trying to prove we are not weak. We compete to see who can integrate the most technology. Some of us can barely sleep because our augmentations require constant power. We have lost sight of balance. Reaver 4. End quote. Ambassador Hana spoke gently. Every species has its struggles. Your people made choices based on your circumstances and culture. There is no shame in that, perhaps you said, but there is shame in mocking others out of our own insecurity. There is shame in prejudice and arrogance. She stood and bowed again deeper this time. I will make a public apology. Tomorrow before the council, I will explain my error and ask for humanity's forgiveness. It is the least I can do. Duan stood as well. Lady Jai Wu, your apology here is enough. You do not need to humiliate yourself publicly, but I humiliated you publicly, she countered. Honor demands I correct that error in the same manner. Then let me suggest an alternative, Ambassador Hana said also, standing instead of a public apology. What if we announced a new partnership? The Trax Empire and humanity could begin a cultural and scientific exchange program. We could learn from each other. You could show us your bioenhancement technology, and we could share our approach to survival and adaptation. Ju and LT Unk and GT's feathers lifted slightly. Sign of surprise and hope. You would want that after how I treated you. Everyone makes mistakes, Day One said. What matters is what we do afterward. You came here, you apologized with genuine remorse, you explained your reasoning. That takes courage. He smiled slightly. Besides, I think our species have more in common than you realize. We both want to be strong, we both want to survive, we just approach it differently. Tears formed in Ju and LT Unk and GT's large eyes. In her species, this was extremely rare, a sign of deep emotion. Thank you, she said softly. Both of you, you have shown me more grace than I deserve. We all deserve grace, Hana said. We are all trying to find our way in this vast galaxy. We should help each other, not tear each other down. The three of them talked for another hour, discussing possibilities for cooperation and cultural exchange. By the time Jai Wu left, her feathers had regained their color, and she carried herself with renewed purpose. She had entered seeking forgiveness. She left with something better, understanding, and the beginning of a genuine friendship. The final day of the summit arrived. The Celestial Accord Hall looked the same as it had at the beginning, but everything felt different. The atmosphere had changed in fundamental ways that everyone could sense, but few could fully articulate. The human delegation entered the hall for the closing ceremonies. Captain Daewon wore his armor again, polished and formal. But now, as he walked through the corridors, other delegates stepped aside respectfully. Some nodded in greeting, others touched their own versions of respectful gestures. The mockery and condescension were gone, replaced by something humans had not expected to earn so quickly. Genuine respect. Ambassador Hana noticed the changes immediately. The human delegation seating had been moved. They were no longer in the outer rings reserved for minor species. They had been relocated to the inner rings, closer to the center of power. It was a symbolic change, but in galactic politics, symbols mattered tremendously. As the humans took their new seats, High Magistrate Velroth entered the hall. His 6 arms moved in a gesture that called everyone to attention. The thousands of delegates fell silent. Members of the Intergalactic Council, Velroth began. We gather for our closing ceremonies, having learned much during this summit. But perhaps nothing was as enlightening as the events of 2 days ago, when humanity chose to reveal their true nature. A holographic display appeared, showing images from Daewon's demonstration. The assembled delegates watched again as he removed his armor, ran for an hour without stopping, and demonstrated capabilities that exceeded most galactic species. The Council has reviewed all data regarding humanity and their home world of Earth, Wrath. Continued, we have confirmed that humans evolved on a Class 12 death world. We have verified their exceptional physical capabilities, and we have come to an important conclusion. He paused, letting the tension build. We have been treating humanity as children who needed guidance. This was an error. Humanity has earned a place of full standing in this council, not as probationary members but as equals. The hall erupted in a mixture of reactions. Some species applauded or made their own versions of approval sounds. Others remained silent, processing this rapid change in status. A few looked concerned, even fearful. Velro raised his arms for silence. Furthermore, the Council has established a new classification system. We will now formally recognize species who evolved on death worlds as a distinct category. These species require different protocols for interaction, not because they are dangerous, but because they are uniquely capable, and we must respect that capability. Ambassador Hana stood when invited to speak. She walked to the podium with dignity, representing not just her delegation but all of humanity. High Magistrate, members of the Council, thank you for this recognition. Humanity has always sought to be part of this community as friends and partners. We never wanted to be feared or treated as weapons, and yet, said a delegate from a crystalline species, you are capable of great violence. Should we not be concerned? Hana met the question directly. Every species is capable of violence when necessary. The question is not whether we can fight, but whether we choose peace. Humans have fought terrible wars in our history. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times, but we learned, we grew. We built a unified world government dedicated to peace and exploration. That is who we are now. She gestured to the holographic display which now showed images of Earth, beautiful cities, peaceful landscapes, humans working together. We come from a harsh world. Yes, but that harsh world taught us to value life, to cooperate, to survive. Together we do not seek conflict, we seek understanding. Another delegate stood, this one from a peaceful herbivore species that had been particularly nervous about the revelations. But what if humanity decides to use their capabilities for conquest? What stops you from taking what you want from weaker species? Day One stood then, his armor gleaming, the same thing that has always stopped us, our conscience, our morals, our choice. His voice carried clearly through the hall. TPM, I am trained to fight. My body is built to endure and survive, but I do not want to fight unless I must protect those who cannot protect themselves. My strength is not a burden you must fear, it is a shield I offer to those who need it. The hall went quiet. The herbivore delegate sat down slowly, looking thoughtful. Lady Jiu stood then. She had been waiting for this moment. High Magistrate, with your permission, I would like to announce a new partnership. Velro gestured his approval. Jiu and LT Unk and GT as feathers shimmered. As she spoke, the Trax Empire and humanity have agreed to begin a cultural and scientific exchange program. We will learn from each other's approaches to survival and enhancement. This partnership represents a new chapter in galactic cooperation where we acknowledge our differences and choose to grow from them rather than let them divide us. The announcement was met with approving sounds from many delegates. It was the kind of positive development the summit hoped to achieve throughout the rest of the ceremony. Multiple species approached the human delegation with requests: military, training partnerships, scientific collaborations, trade agreements, cultural exchanges. Proposals that had been stalled for years were suddenly fast-tracked. Humans were no longer the awkward newcomers. They were valuable partners. As the summit officially concluded, Day One stood on an observation deck, overlooking the stars. He had removed his helmet, wanting to see the universe with his own eyes. Ambassador Hana joined him. "We changed everything," she said quietly. "In just 3 days, we went from being tolerated to being respected. Was it worth it?" Day One asked, revealing what we are. Hana considered the question carefully. "Yes, we could not build genuine relationships while hiding our truth. Now they know, they understand, and most importantly, they see that we choose peace despite our capabilities. That means more than any amount of diplomatic posturing ever could." Day One nodded. Below them, the human ships were preparing to depart. Other species vessels gave them wide berth, no longer from dismissal, but from respect. "Do you think they are afraid of us now?" Duan asked. "Some of them, yes," Hana admitted. "But that is not necessarily bad. Fear combined with respect creates caution. Caution creates thoughtfulness, and thoughtfulness creates better decisions. They will not dismiss us again. They will not mock us, but they will also choose their actions more carefully, knowing what we could do if we chose to, even if we never would," Day One said. "Especially because we never would," Hana corrected. "The most dangerous beings are those who have power but lack restraint. We have power and choose restraint. That makes us trustworthy allies and formidable opponents. Both are useful. Galactic politics." They stood together for a while longer, watching the stars. Behind them, the other human delegates gathered, preparing to leave. 50 humans who had changed the galaxy's perception of their entire species as they boarded their ships. Day One put his helmet back on, the armor sealed around him with familiar sounds, but now he understood what it truly represented: not weakness, not hiding, but wisdom. The wisdom to protect what was precious, the wisdom to use tools and technology, the wisdom to choose peace while maintaining the capability for war. The human ships departed from the Celestial Accord Hall. As they did, other vessels formed an honor corridor, a sign of respect. Galactic tradition, the humans passed through it, accepting the recognition they had earned. Back on the station, High Magistrate Velro watched them go. One of his advisors approached. "Do you think we made the right decision elevating them so quickly?" Roth's compound eyes reflected the starlight. "We had no choice. They were always worthy of elevation. We simply refused to see it until they showed us better to recognize strength and make it our ally than to dismiss it and make it our enemy. And if they become aggressive, they will not," Velro said with certainty. "I have studied their history, their culture, their choices. They are what every species should aspire to be: strong enough to take what they want, wise enough to ask instead, capable of terrible violence, dedicated to lasting peace. They are proof that evolution on a harsh world does not create monsters. It creates survivors who value life above all else." The human ships jumped to faster than light speed. Leaving the station behind, they carried with them something precious. Respect earned, friendships formed, and A new place in the galactic community. Not as children to be guided, not as primitives to be mocked, but as equals. To be valued, humanity had taken off their armor and shown the galaxy what they truly were, and the galaxy, after a moment of silence, had chosen to stand with them rather than against them. That choice would shape galactic history for generations too.